Doors Awareness Podcast, a place where we collect stories and circulate life-changing wisdom. I am your host, Asher, and our guest today is Tawana. Hello, Tawana.
Hi, Asher. Thank you for
Hey.
having me.
Of course. And as always, Fridays, our theme for Friday is victories. So we get to share victories today. We get to relish in those awesome achievement that we've done over our lifetime. And to want to get to share with us some of her victories. I get to share some of my victories as well. But before I jump into the conversation, if you're catching us live, go ahead and put hashtag live in the chat. If you're catching us on replay, go ahead and put hashtag replay. We love to know that you're out there listening and watching and getting some of this good love. We're gonna give you guys this today. And Tawana, I would love for you to tell folks a little bit about you, what you specialize in, and we can get the conversation going.
Well, my name is Tawana Yvette, and I go by Black Butterfly Goddess, and that alter ego, for lack of a better term, was born from a very deep, long 2.5 year spiritual awakening. And I had to heal childhood trauma while losing everything and everyone around me.
Mhm.
So to be able to call myself Black Butterfly Goddess, to be able to speak on it's just amazing. It was a long but short 2.5 years. But I have made it to the other side. I am, speaking my story. I am stepping into my power and I am loving it. Absolutely
Mhm.
loving it.
Well, I do have to say you are very gorgeous, by the way. I'm like,
Thank
I
you.
love the way you look and I love the way you match your background. Everything is going on, all the colors that you got going on is so amazing. So smiling, everything is awesome. Oh, whoa. Talk to me
Thank
about that
you.
smile. How long you been smiling?
Thank you.
So some people don't smile much, but I can tell that you were a smiler.
Yes,
Is that
yes.
how
I
it's
have
been
a lot.
your signature move to smile with a lot of folks?
Um, I don't know, but I just know that it comes from a place of being genuinely happy now.
Uh-huh.
It does. So I do try to smile as often as possible because it shows happiness.
Mm. Is happiness a high value for you now in your life?
Extremely, extremely. I spent my entire life unhappy and hating myself. And to be on the other side of that and to be able to see my own value and look in the mirror and, indescribable, completely indescribable.
Mm. No, I'm sticking on this topic a little bit because I just have a feeling this is something that we can get the victory on tie into this piece of it. But the one of my favorite quote. Tell me what you think about this quote. I mean, I shared it before, but I think it's from Punjab Papaji. I'm not gonna give you the complete exact quote, but it says, "Happiness is permanent. It is always here. What comes and goes is unhappiness." So when you hear those words, Tawana, what shows up for you?
Love,
Mm,
self-love, happiness, it is permanent. Once you receive it on the inside,
hmm
um, outside conditions don't dictate your happiness. They are
hmm
just what they are. They're outside conditions. Um, and there is a way to be genuinely happy even in those storms of life.
hmm
So to be able to find that in this lifetime is something that I never thought would happen. To be able to be happy while I've lost everything and everyone close to me. Yet I found myself.
hmm
And that's the most important thing in life, is to find out who you are and what makes you happy, because we are conditioned to be robots. We're conditioned to follow in others' footsteps. We're conditioned not to pursue our dreams and our passions, but go this way and go that way. And especially as women, we are taught that at a very young age that the value is in having children and a husband.
hmm
We're not really taught that we are the value. And if we were taught that, then we would be able to, our children would not be engaging in some of the acts that they are now. you know Now, not my children. I'm a very proud mother of
Mm,
three goddesses and a grandmother of a little god and a little goddess, and extremely proud of those women, those grown women. They're not in my life right now, but that's temporary. As I'm healing, they'll be able to see it, and we'll be able to come together again.
okay.
So to be able to be happy without anyone, indescribable.
I'm gonna ask you about that part that you keep mentioning, but something showed up for me. I'm trying to remember this story. And then we can get into a little bit about your part that you were mentioning just now. But it was the story about it's about I think it's a king. Oh, he's a king. It's a story about a king. And then for some reason he was the only living person of his family.
Hmm.
And then he called in somebody to kind of give him some counseling, something like that, whatever. And one guy says, come in and says, um, like all your family is dead, so forth and so on, whatever. And he didn't like that answer. And then he kind of like, order his men, his guards to kill the guy.
Hmm.
Then the next guy saw it and was like, okay, what should I tell the king this time? So he went in and was like, you know what? You should You should be so happy that you've outlived all your siblings and you're the only one that's here to kind of still being here to live, to kind of like tell your own story. And I was like,
Hmm.
that's an interesting way of looking at it. So no, so one person said, hey, all your family is dead, but say you was able to survive all of them and live,
Hmm.
survive all of them, so you should be happy, whatever, whatever. And the way he phrased that, the king was like, oh, that makes sense now. Okay, all right. I like the way this guy says. So you get to live. But thinking about your story, and you're saying that you lost a lot of folks, a lot of
Yes.
people in your life. Who are those people, and how is that going on for you?
Um, a lot of my siblings are not happy that I am sharing what they feel are family secrets, but they were secrets that kept me in bondage while they lived their best lives.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then, of course, my daughters have decided, enough was enough. They could not take unhealed mom anymore. And I don't blame them one bit, not at all. They have a right to feel how they feel, they have a right to have their space. I am still proud of them. My phone is still on. If they need me, I'm
Hmm.
there. But we're in separation right now.
Hmm.
And even in that, I had children very young. So I built my family so I would be happy later, or so I thought.
Hmm.
And to be able to smile every day, dance around the house, cook, do the things that make me happy without the people that I created to be happy. That's authentic. That is true healing. That's when you healed. Not that I'm healed permanently. We're always evolving as human beings and learning, but healed from the muck and the mire that my children had to live through and witness.
Hmm.
And so I share my story now, and I do what I can to empower people because I want them to know they can get through it and still come out on the other side smiling.
Hmm. Well, I say power to you, my friend, for opening the vault. And when you think about that, sometimes we all do it. A lot of us do it. Like we lock our insecurities inside a vault. Then we
Hmm.
hire security to protect our insecurities. And when it comes around, we were like, oh, it's time for you to open up the vault and share it. And a lot of people are like, oh, we're not ready for that. But
Hmm.
this is what I realized, and I wish people would get this. I think you get it too. The things that we put in the vault oftentimes is the treasure that we hide from other people. But when we start sharing that treasure with other people, we're gonna realize how much freeing it is for us, even though it might be something that, oh, I don't want nobody to know about it. Well, there's a reason why I lock it in the vault, because it's treasure. So why
Yes.
not share the treasure with other people? Why not put it on display, put it on auction, say, hey, who wants this? Who wants to hear this? You get to hear it because now, once you hear it, and other people are like, whoa, I like your treasure. Now people are like, oh my God, I'm glad I start sharing it because now other people
Hmm.
like it. But we fear that if we open the vault, expose the treasure, somebody's gonna steal it and use it for the wrong thing.
Yes.
But oftentimes that's not the case because once people understand your story, they will love you even more. Because there's a saying that some people say they don't agree with it, but I agree with this statement. Say once somebody really understand your story, you can't hate somebody that you understand their story really deeply. You can't hate them because now
No,
you understand exactly why they behave the way they do, act the way they do, come from the place they come from because you understand their story. And I'm a firm
exactly.
believer in that. If I really get to know your story, that means like if I was in your shoes, I'd probably be doing the same thing you're doing. So what are your thoughts?
I love that perspective, actually. I never thought of it that way, that, it was a treasure, but when you spoke on it, it it is treasure. My story is treasure. It's treasure of, excuse me, survival through the most heinous things that a woman could go through before, 18.
Mm,
Um, that's treasure. I locked it away in fear of judgment, and locked it with guilt and shame. And I was so riddled with guilt and shame my entire life. But it wasn't me who made those actions. So why did I feel guilty and ashamed?
mm,
It, when you get to a certain space, it's like, no, that's their guilt and shame to carry. They
mhm,
are the ones who took those actions. Why are the survivors, because I don't like to call myself a victim,
mhm,
why are the survivors the ones who carry so much shame? We should be sharing with each other. We should be helping one another, especially women, instead of competing. We should be loving on one another and sharing, and, hey sis, I've been there, I've got you. Those types of relationships should be forming out of these treasures,
mm,
as you so wonderfully put it.
mm,
It's miraculous, and it's the most freeing feeling, and I feel free. I have never in my life felt free,
mm,
but I finally feel free. It's like, remember being a kid on the swings, and,
mhm,
we pump our legs and see how high we could go, and it was just that free. That's the way I feel now. I no longer carry any of those feelings that I carried for 47 years of my life, of self hatred and self loathing because of other people's actions.
mm. Congratulations, Tawana.
Thank you.
It is it is good to see you with your wings.
Thank you.
No, it is because I understand the feeling a little bit. Because sometimes, a lot of people really want to share their story, and the anchor that holds them back oftentimes is family.
Mm-hmm.
Because you might be in a place you're ready to share, but you're like, no, I'm not ready. And then
Mm-hmm.
it's the tug and pull and push, and you're like, but but is the thing that sometimes they don't believe in the vision that you have about the freedom that you want to feel. And sometimes people don't want to take accountability. That's another big part too. And they expect they expect that, oh no, you gotta hide this thing until death. And they're like, no, I need my freedom before I leave here. So
Mm-hmm.
I say congratulations for having the courage to like, hey, I'm gonna do this thing, even if it costs me some disconnection for a while, but they're gonna see the vision eventually and come back
They
around. I'm
will or they
hoping.
won't. And I accept them for where they are in
Yeah.
their lives. I've distanced myself from many family members. But the one sister who lives here, we had a very deep conversation at the end of last year, and it was, I am no longer willing. I've gone through, 3 times where I have been on the other side. I've had seizures that have nearly taken me out. I had full renal failure that nearly took me out. And a lot of it was everything I carried. So I had a very open conversation with her, and I said, look, I want to save our relationship. However, you will respect me, and you will understand that I'm no longer holding on to this family nonsense. I'm going to speak what happened to me truthfully. And it's going to help others. So you don't have to watch the podcast. You don't have to, my family knows nothing about what I do.
Mm.
They're not interested, and I'm okay with that. So, that's where they are, and that's okay. But this is where I am, and I'm going to stand in my truth and in my power, no matter what it costs me.
Okay. I'm gonna ask you this question because I'm curious. Some people might be curious too. So, in this entire conversation, I'm sure there's an anti-hero here that you as a hero is going up against. And if you had explained to us what that anti-hero that you finally find the courage to go up against, what would the anti-hero be right now for you?
Shame.
Hmm.
That was the biggest thing that held me back. It was
Shame about
shame.
what?
Shame for my father couldn't make the difference between his girlfriend, wife, and his daughters. Um, I am an incest survivor that resulted in pregnancy. So for my whole life, that has weighed me down. Your father is the man you're supposed to learn from. He's the one you're supposed to, know what to meet in your
Mhm.
future. But unfortunately, I met my father in different bodies in every relationship that I was in. And finally, the guilt and the shame became so overwhelming, I didn't want to be on earth anymore.
Mhm.
And, excuse me, attempted to take my life um, because it was so heavy. And I felt so worthless and desperate. And, I'm like I told you, I'm a psychic. And my mom, I remember going to sleep, and my mom said, "Your work's not done. You have to go back."
Mhm.
And I woke up in the hospital. So, I have fought through all of those demons, for lack of a better word. Over the last 2.5 years, I have remained relationship free, celibate, 100% focused on healing what happened to me, and realizing that that wasn't my fault and it wasn't my burden to ever carry.
Mhm.
That was him. So once I met the final monster, the final version of him, I it was sink or swim at that point. And I chose to swim, and I've been tired. There have been hard
Mhm.
days, but every day I get up and I make a conscious choice to be happy and to live in this and to look for opportunities to help other people heal.
How has that experience been so far?
I'm sorry.
How has the experience been so far doing the work that
Um,
you came back to do?
it's been there have been hard days. I'm not gonna lie. There are days where I'll curl up with my onesie, my Harry Potter onesie, and a bowl of ice cream and just cry. But now that I know that it's safe to cry, it is safe to release those feelings. It is safe to feel that way. I am able to cry it out, get up an hour later, get back on the computer. Who can I help today?
Mhm.
Who can I talk to today? I don't go into those deep episodes anymore. I allow those feelings to come through me, and we get rid of them, journal, walk, Pilates, whatever it is that I have to do in those moments. Ice cream, Lay's potato chips. My guilty pleasure. Um whatever it is. And then, I just get up and I find a way to keep fighting for those girls, for those women who are still carrying shame and guilt and in bondage, who feel trapped in their lives, who in their 40s realize, I have this family and I have this husband, but where am I? Who am I? So I've had to learn who I am. I've had to learn where I am in all of this, and it hasn't been easy, especially with not having any support. But I know, I finally know I have a purpose,
Mm,
which is something I had never felt in my life. My what I thought was my purpose was always taking care of other people, giving from an empty cup, feeling exhausted and bitter and upset because I'm saying yes to things that I really want to scream and say no to. Um, I can't explain it.
mm,
It's a choice. It's a choice. And after my middle child, who I admire so greatly, after she decided, I don't want to talk to you, we're not on the same page, we're done for now. And, we send business text like, I renewed the Costco membership so you guys can still use it type text. There's no real conversations happening. Um, but she leaves that line open. And I admire her because I cannot imagine, with the love that she has for me and the admiration she's always carried for me, what it took for her to say, I'm done. I can't
mm,
do this anymore. So I am immensely, excuse me, proud of her for doing that. And I am also grateful for her doing that because it really forced me to look in the mirror. I knew my work wasn't done. I knew that they were going to send me back if I tried anything stupid again.
mm, mm,
So just do it. I've always been the person that jumps in the pool with both feet. And that's what I had to do with my healing journey after my daughter stood up to me. I had to jump in with both feet.
mm.
And I'm proud of myself. I'm proud that I did it. And one day they will see these podcasts. They're on social media. One day they'll see a podcast. They might see the book release that was announced yesterday. And they'll be like, wow, mom did it.
Mm. You are incredibly brave, my friend.
Thank you.
And congratulations for being victorious in this moment of open up your vault and sharing your secrets.
Thank you.
Because there's something you mentioned purpose, and it resonated when you said something about the purpose piece. And I love this combination of words that says any problem that frustrates you, piss you off, make you mad, embarrass you, and all those words that comes along with it, you was born to solve. And
Exactly.
the universe attach your purpose to you like a tail, like a fragrance. I mean, you run away, your tail is gonna chase you. A fragrance, no matter how far you run, you're still gonna smell like it. You can't escape it. So at one point in your life, you're gonna like, what's my purpose? Your purpose been following you around this whole time. And
Mhm.
oftentimes we don't recognize how much the universe, God source universe, or God universe
Mhm.
source God, so you're gonna put it, as giving you that thing, put you in that situation, and you might not like it, but he was here to do some work through that thing.
Yes.
And whatever university that universe put you through to experience that experience that you had. So now that the world that that we have right now, that people that experience what you've experienced, somebody needs a voice because not a lot of people gonna speak about this stuff. But
No.
then the thing I like about purpose or state, let me go with a state. Could you experience a state of what your father did, right? Other
Yes.
people experience it. So there's a group of people in that same state. And
Hmm.
if you take for the country as an example, every state need a leader, right? So now you were chosen to lead that state, right? And leading that state meaning that you gotta come out on top and start speaking. So oftentimes people don't understand that that state exists, just like the state of poverty, state of all these state, the state that exists. This state you're in
Hmm.
needs a leader, and you had to get up, stand up, and lead that state. So no, that's how I see your purpose as far as this thing you're doing right now. Hey, this thing need a leader.
Yes.
And people that exist in the state that are ashamed or afraid, nobody's voicing for them, nobody's speaking with them. Somebody got to step up and do it. And
Yes.
maybe you were sent back for that purpose to
I
speak up
was.
and lead that state.
I
What are your
was.
thoughts?
Yeah, my mother was very clear. My mother was a Leo. So she was quite the firecracker.
Mm,
And yes, she sent me back and told me I'm not done. And I knew I had to begin speaking on it because I knew that it was like lava inside of me. Just waiting to be spewed out. And for example, my siblings did not know how far the abuse went until last year.
mhm,
I did not disclose that the termination that I had at 15 was my daughter, son, sister, brother
mm,
until last year. Um, and I didn't feel brave enough to ever disclose that because number one, I felt like my sister here would be hurt. She loves me, and I didn't want her to hurt because of my hurt. Um, I don't even think my children are aware how far it went. I don't
mm,
think I ever disclosed that part to them. Um, but once I spoke it, once I started to speak it, it wasn't lava anymore. It was just a flow.
mm,
It was just an energy flow. And as I speak more about it, it gets easier and easier and easier. And, you know, my thing is if I save one person, one person from being middle aged, disconnected from their family, then I've served my purpose. Now, do I know my purpose is much greater? I do.
mm,
I do. But in small 3D human thinking, if I save one girl from feeling like she's alone, from feeling like she has no one, from hating herself, from hating her body, from choosing partners who, reflected that same image, then my purpose is served. But it's much greater than that. It's
mm.
much greater. My mother has shown me a little glimpse, in dreams and in visions. She's given me a little glimpse, and guides me every day. Every day I hear her voice. Every day I see her in the mirror, you know, cheering me on. You've got this. That's my baby. So,
The ancestral connection, the elders. I'm gonna share something. I don't think I've ever told anybody this, but I feel like might be a time to share it. And not too long ago, I had gotten somebody pregnant,
mhm,
and it took me like 2 weeks. I was just stressing about it, stressing about it, stressing about it. And like just feel like first I was happy, but then I was like, nah, because I have some plans and it's gonna disrupt those plans. So went back and forth. But I remember I was at a little family gathering with my mom. And I told my mom that I got this person pregnant,
mhm,
but I didn't tell her what I was really thinking, like back and forth, like what struggles going on. So I remember I was sitting down, was having a conversation, and I was being quiet because I was stressed in about it, like, but I was quiet, I was listening because I was observing stuff. And she was telling me something. She said, Asher, she was telling a group of us, like, I had a dream, and it was like a little baby in the dream. And no, she's saying she had one dream that she had a miscarriage.
mhm,
And she was like, I didn't understand, but I had miscarriage and the baby just kind of didn't come, whatever. And then she said she had another dream where she had another dream about a baby, and the baby says, Mom, I'm going back to Jesus. I'm not gonna stay. I'm going back to Jesus. I'm leaving. I'm not gonna come. And she was telling me that she was like, I don't know what this means, but I'm just sharing it, whatever. And in my mind, the whole time, she didn't know.
mhm,
I'm like, I kind of decided that me and that lady that we're not gonna have this baby.
mhm,
But when my mom said it, it made the decision I was having in my mind, like, okay, all right, Asher, like you can say this to this
mhm,
person. But I was thinking about the ancestral connection or the family connection, whatever, so forth and so on, the spiritual connection thing. I'm like, my mom just tell me she had a dream about all of these things. How did she know that?
Mm-hmm.
And then you talk about being psychic. So my great grandmother, like she was my first love. My mom was my first love, actually. My great grandmother was my first love. It's crazy. When I was thinking about it, I was like, oh my God, she was the first person that really gave me the kind of love that I needed. Because I grew up
Mm-hmm.
in the Jamaican culture, like it was different kind of love. They show love in different ways, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, but I remember she used to do this because she stayed with a lot. She used to ask me, Asher, could you find this person for me? Because I need to pray for them
Mm-hmm.
because you're sick. And I didn't take it serious. And
Mm-hmm.
then I would, reluctantly just, ask around, whatever, whatever. But then later on, we find out that person died.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, how did she know this? But my great grandmother, she was blind. She didn't leave her place that much. But she would have these visions. She said she seen this stuff in her vision.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wait a minute. So she was like, so after that, I started believing her. She was like, hey, this person's sick, blah, blah, it's fine. So I'm starting to notice that people have gift that sometimes people don't believe because they never experienced themselves. So I
Mm-hmm.
witnessed that with my great grandmother. My mother, she has similar gift. My
Mm-hmm.
mother, she sees stuff sometimes. I'm like, ah. But when she told me that thing that day, I'm like, okay, Asher, you can tell this lady that the baby's not the right time to come. Because my mom
Mm-hmm.
said she saw the baby already, telling her that the baby's going back to Jesus. She's going back home. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my God. But anyway, tell me about your psychic skills or gifts.
Um, I've I've always known I've had this gift, but I suppressed it.
Mm,
Because of society and work and, then took the hardcore Christianity route, which did not serve me. It's great for anybody it serves, but it just didn't serve me. And when I moved into my apartment, because I moved up here to help my sister, she was grieving the loss of her partner of umpteen years. He had just passed away suddenly. And so I moved up here to help her. They had just gotten a dog. He's a cane corso. She's like not okay. And you've got this crazy puppy cane corso. So I moved here to help her. And once I noticed that she, was getting back to normal, I went ahead and moved into my own space. And my mother's voice became so loud, I could not ignore it. She would wake me up
mm,
and sit there, and I would just receive, receive, receive. Then all of a sudden, there's a male presence. Who's that? And it was my pop pop.
mm,
He passed away when I was 2. It was my pop pop.
mm,
And as I've accepted and, stepped into this psychic gift, when I tell you I have a team of ancestors that surround me that are fierce,
mm,
it got to the point to where I had to start looking on ancestry.com because I was just hearing names. And I'm like, I don't know who that person is. And one day my mom was like, just look it up, and found out that I've got 4 generations of grandmothers on my mother's side who were psychic, who had to suppress that gift because of the time that they lived in. The eldest one is 4 generations back, my Gigi Jerusha, and she was born in the 1800s. So all of those people had to suppress their gift, and they have come because I don't have to.
mm,
And they give me messages, and I read Oracle, I read Tarot, um, but most of my gifts are intuitive. I will walk up to somebody and tell them their whole life. I can walk into somebody's house and, tell them what they need to do to heal, what they need to do to fix their life. I've had ancestors of ex-friends channel through me,
mm,
where they kind of just took over. And I'm like, what's happening? It's almost like you're watching yourself through binoculars when it happens. You're not the one speaking, but you're the one speaking.
mm,
And my accent will change, my speech changes, my eye color will change, if I'm channeling. And the few friends I have left, they're like, yeah, we know that's from another side because, you couldn't have known this. You wouldn't have known that, details, names, it would come through, the messages come through. So I've learned how to tame that and, um respectfully ask the spirit realm to ask permission for my energy first. Not, we don't just take over anymore. But I am a psychic and I'm
Mhm.
proud of it. I'm proud that I'm the one that they chose to operate fully in this gift that that my ancestors are beaming with pride over.
Sometimes, because I'm thinking about what you're saying, it could be scary because you're not gonna fit in with a lot of people because not many people are gifted like you are. And
Mm-hmm.
I realized that too, because even my great grandmother, she kind of isolated herself after a while and just kind of like do her thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that too. It's like sometimes this thing that you have that people don't understand. It hmm, I have this I have the challenge with sleep. And one of the reasons why I have the challenge with sleep because I used to go to places in my sleep that it used to scare me.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of reasons why I sleep. I have nightmares, I have all other things. But this thing used to happen to me. And I used to go I used to sleep, I used to go to places and I know I'm awake, but sometimes I have a hard time coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And it used to scare me. And it used to scare me so much where that plus all the stuff, I don't try to fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes you when you were saying that you kind of suppress it, it kind of remind me of that thing too that I do. That's one of the reasons why I don't sleep much because I'm like, when I go to sleep in that place, the other place you go to when you go to sleep,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I feel like sometimes I feel like I can't come back. Like
Ground
I'm losing.
yourself.
Yes. And huh. So when you was talking about the ancestors connection, all that stuff, and suppressing your gift, I'm like, oh man, maybe I should face this thing.
It's called astral travel.
Mm,
And what I have read and learned and studied about it is before you go to sleep, you look at an object
mm,
and you focus on whatever object. It could be a pen, it could be, something small. And as you astral travel and receive those messages, once it gets scary, you remember the object and you
mm,
can come back. It's grounding yourself, grounding your body. Like I said, it could be a cup, it could be a pen, it could be anything, a
mm,
book. But if you ground yourself with that object, then the connection to your body, that silver line, that silver thread that connects you is easier to recognize when things
mm.
get scary on the other side. So you'll see that
Okay.
object and know it's time to come back.
Actually, I'm learning a lot right now. Come on, I'm gonna stay here for a little bit because you just opened my eyes a bit. Because I'm gonna tell you this too because I've been going to therapy and my therapist asked me, Asher, are you afraid to go to sleep? And the answer was yes, actually. And that was one of the reasons. Man, I'm getting teared up right now because not just nightmare, but that was one of the other big ones.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I used to find myself traveling and then I can't come back, and I used to fight to come back. And now it's starting to make sense a little bit. Like, okay, this is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm, didn't know that.
You're gifted as well.
Hmm. You say it's called astral travel?
Yes. Yes.
Mm,
It's where you're in the astral realms. It's, the different realms that we can't see with with our two eyes. Um, I would suggest getting a hematite bracelet
mm,
because hematite naturally grounds you. Um, and just wear it all the time. And then, like I said, keep that object, whatever that object is, before you go to sleep. Focus on that object, and you'll be able to come back when
Mm,
things get weird.
mm. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I think you came on the podcast to give me that one good news right there. That thing that I didn't thought about because a matter of fact, I was on my Toastmasters thing today. I was telling, give a little speech on sleep, whatever, because I have a lot of issues with sleep. Really, I only sleep like 3, 4 hours, but I had sleep paralysis, the one thing I struggle with, sleep
Mm,
paralysis, because I was not able to animate my body after sometimes I snap other things. But the other one, part of it, which I never tell anybody because I just didn't feel like it was like. But now he was talking, I was like, hmm. So, but that one is another big one, the traveling piece.
mm-hmm,
And sometimes I used to feel like, sometimes like, if somebody ever locked me somewhere, I probably just leave and never come back because I felt like I can do it.
mm-hmm,
I can just leave my body and just never come back. But because I've sometimes I felt like I was just like I know I'm there somewhere else, and I
mm-hmm.
come back. Yeah, but I'm like, okay, how do I find my way back into my space again? And it was a challenge sometimes. It scares me. I'm like, oh man, I don't want to go to sleep because that was so hard to come back, and I'm not ready to leave.
Right.
So it used to be a scary thing for me. Yeah. Wow.
You're gifted. You're very gifted.
Mm.
Most of us, I made a joke on Facebook this morning and I said, it's funny they call us spiritually awakened and none of us sleep. Once you're awakened, we can't sleep.
But I had a spin on this entire sleeping thing. So here's my thoughts on it. I was saying that we don't ever go to sleep.
No,
We just wake up into one dimension, wake up in
into
another
another.
dimension,
Mm-hmm.
just wake up in. So I feel like, we just constantly awake, being awake.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm awake. I go to the next place, I'm awake. I go to the next place, I'm awake. So that's why I just spin on it. But you might agree with it. I think sound like you agree with it. But I always think like, oh, we don't ever go to sleep, really. All we do
We
is keep
don't.
keep being awakened.
We don't.
Mm.
You're absolutely correct. I forgot, I think it was Bashar on TikTok. Daryl Anka channels an entity called Bashar who lives in a different dimension. And he goes around the country and, people ask him questions and he is authentic. He is truly channeling. There is no question about it. Um, and I think he said, we don't ever sleep. It's the 3D body that's connected to Earth. We just leave it. And a lot of us just don't remember what we're doing where we're going, which is why a lot of us wake up tired. It's like,
Mm.
I slept for 6 hours. Why am I tired? You're tired because you're in other realms doing other things.
Mm.
So we you're right. We don't ever really sleep
Mm. Makes sense to me. We just constantly being awakened.
once we're
Yeah.
awake.
Yeah. Wow. This was educational for me. And I hope those that are watching and listening find education in it because Tawana, I got it right, right?
Yes.
You're a mystic and a whole lot of things going on here. I can feel that you have plenty good gifts, my friend.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you.
And that's why you gotta stay.
Yeah, I don't have a choice anymore. She sent me back clear as day. Nope, you're not done. It's going to be
That,
hard, but go.
that's why you gotta stay. Because even though your purpose is attached to a bunch of different things, but what you just did for me today, you gave me some perspective on something that I really didn't share much. And I didn't know if I should even share it, but then you, the messenger that showed up today that tell me, Asher, hmm, don't be afraid of going to sleep.
No, it's part of your gift.
Hmm, okay. You might have just changed your word for me just now.
Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
It's an absolute pleasure. I'm glad. I'm glad. I didn't know why I learned that, so I guess I learned it just for you.
Yes, yes. Okay. Anything else you want? Oh, let's talk about your book. You say you're working on your book. Let's talk about the journey, this book that you're gonna put together, put these combination of words together so we can relate to it. Talk to me about that journey.
So I'm part of a book project and it's called Divine Synchronicity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Inspired Living Publishing. And I have been connected to her as Facebook friends, Linda Joy, for like 6, 7 years now, but didn't know she was watching me.
Mm-hmm.
And she had posted something about the next book she was doing, and we talked. And what was funny is she said, I just kept hearing this voice that you have to be in this book, you have to be in this book. And I said, yeah, that's probably my mother. She has a tendency to just invade people's spaces. She was a Leo. And when we had, the Zoom call when I was signing my publishing agreement and everything, she told me the first mandatory meeting was April 8th, and I froze. And I could hear my mother as clear as day, and I just started crying. And she's like, are you okay? And I said, my mother transitioned 25 years ago on April 8th. And what she just said to me, and I still get chills, she doesn't want me to be depressed on that day anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's now a day of celebration. So I'm going to be talking about the last 2.5 years of my life, the spiritual awakening, despite losing everyone around me, but finding myself. And I'm really excited. I am so excited about this. So proud of myself. I have wanted to write a book since the day I entered the New York City group home system at 15 years old. And that dream has just come true. So, and then I am going to be a speaker. I'm not allowed to say the summit yet, but it's a women's summit. Um, and when I spoke with the woman who is, organizing everything the other day, she says, yes, it's July 29th and July 30th. And my mother's always on my right side. And I just look to my right. July 29th is my mother's birthday, another day that I spent depressed every year, mourning her. So she has given me the gift of happiness and celebration again instead of mourning.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't tell you what that feels like because for 25 years I went into the deepest depressions on those days, missing her, just wanting her to be here. Yes, I knew she was on the other side. Anytime when I had the kidney failure, when I had the seizures. In fact, my daughter said when she was driving me to the hospital, she thought I was having a stroke, but I was having grand mal seizures. And my daughter said, when I came out of one of them, I turned around and looked at her and said, how dare you not address your grandmother? She is sitting behind you. And then went into another seizure. So she's always been there to send me back. But I mourned her. I missed her in this realm. I wanted to hug her again. I wanted to cook with her again because that was our thing. I wanted to dance around the house with her again. And now she's given me celebration on those days, 25 years later. It, I can't thank that lady enough.
Mm-hmm. It's beautiful to see that your maturation process has like got to its point. It seems like it took a long time for the maturation process to work its way up to where you can like, okay, the book is ready. Because maybe at that point in your life at 15, maybe there wasn't enough chapter yet. Maybe you need to
No.
add some more chapters. So now you have
Mhm.
collected all your chapters, mature your way up to this point where now it's victory time, my friend. So I'm looking forward to reading that book too, by the way.
I'll make sure you get a copy.
Yes, I'm looking forward because people care. I'm telling you right now, that story, because not a lot of people have that story to tell. And maybe some people have it, but they're not telling it. They're dying with it.
Yes.
And they're like, you're not gonna die with this story, my friend. You gotta tell it. So
Mm-mm.
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. So
Mm.
much more to come. So much more.
Wow. How can they find you if they're looking for you?
Blackbutterflygoddess.com. Um, my email is Tawana at blackbutterflygoddess.com or info at blackbutterflygoddess.com if that's easier. Um, Facebook, Tawana Yvette and Black Butterfly Goddess. TikTok, Black Butterfly Goddess, and Instagram, Black Butterfly Goddess. So I've made it easy.
BBG, is that what it is?
Yes, it is. That's what I call it when I'm, texting my sister friend so we can shorten it up. Doing this for BBG.
No, we got it. And I love I love when you spin the word goddess and God and so forth and so on. And you was talking about you got, you know, your goddess and your gods, because sometimes people don't understand that. Like me, I strongly believe that we are. I think,
We are.
yeah, the only thing that exists is God. There can be
Yes.
nothing else, right?
Yes.
If you think about it, you use common sense and think about it. The only thing that exists is God. Everything you look around you is God in existence,
Exactly.
manifestation of God in some form. So that means you and I are. But it's hard for some people to believe that because we have ways of labeling things that's just take control away from people. But yeah, I think I feel myself the same way. I
Hmm.
might not be fully conscious of all my moves, but I know
Oh yeah. Oh
it's me.
yeah. We're
Hmm.
we're we're imperfect until we leave, you know.
Hmm.
Um, that's what makes us unique, our imperfections. That's what makes us beautiful, our imperfections. But I chose goddess over queen, which I find is very overused because I like etymology. And
Mm.
when I researched the word queen, it actually means prostitute.
Mm.
So I'm not going to refer to myself. I have not ever been, nor will I ever be, nor will my children ever be a prostitute.
Mm.
We are pieces of God in female form. Therefore, we are goddesses. And my little grandson, not little, not so little anymore,
Mhm.
he's a little god. And that's the way I see them because they are perfect just the way they are. They are parts of God, particles of God that he or they, Gus, source, it chose to manifest in this reality.
Mm.
They're perfect.
Here's what I would say with that piece, and I think I kind of play it this way, right? If they said, everybody believe that, most people believe that God is in them.
Hmm.
So I ask this question: if you had to pick between the highest or the lowest ingredients of something, would you pick the highest or the lowest ingredient? And oftentimes people say, I pick the highest ingredient.
Hmm.
So if the ingredients of a thing is in you, that means you are the thing
Hmm.
because you made up of that ingredient. So I'm like, okay, if they say God is in you, that means the ingredients for God is in me. That means I am just like you
Yes.
are. So
Yes.
when I think about it that way, I'm like, okay, all right, I am. I am. I might not be the almighty ocean, but the raindrops got exactly what's in the ocean in it.
They
So
have their place.
yes.
They have their place. You
Okay.
have your place. We are all particles of God's source.
Hmm. Thank you so much for blessing me with your energy, my friend.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. It's been an absolute pleasure. It really has been to get to know you and watching you on Facebook and your, walking messages and things. Very, very inspirational. Very inspirational.
Thank you so much. And any last word to close up before we shut down and enjoy the weekend?
Women, please understand your value.
Mhm.
Heal, heal. Whatever has hurt you, heal it. We do not have to accept abuse. We do not have to accept mistreatment. That's for men too. Men get abused and mistreated as well. But heal.
Mm.
Take that time by yourself. Yes, it's lonely sometimes. Yes, you might, get upset or want people around you, but you can't heal like that. So take the time for you, get to know who you are, because we all have value. Each and every one of us has value.
Mhm. And that's powerful, my friend. You guys are tuning into Pandora's Awareness Podcast, a place where we collect stories and circulate life-changing wisdom. And today you've been been another day more wise to listen to Tywanah share her journey. So I appreciate you, my friend, for sharing. Excuse
Thank
me.
you. Thank
And
you.
with that, make it an awesome weekend.